Splash 106.7 FM.
Morning to you. Is the last day in the month of January, year 2022. And interestingly, many people have been talking about how this January seems to be the fastest ever. You know, it's usually funny that when we get to January, everybody believes that the month, you know, has a way of just slowing down and what have you. But it looks like this January seems different. I don't know if it's just me, but it does seem so. And maybe point out to the fact that this year will be even different. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Boyega Olani. This is Panorama.
It's great to be with you once again. Good morning. My name is Lola Nedutene. Welcome to the end of January 2022.
And before we proceed, I would like to talk about something that bothers me all of the time. And it's the issue of indiscriminate waste disposal in Abeokuta, especially within the Abeokuta metropolis. And I'm saying this specifically because I noticed something yesterday. On Friday, or thereabout, on my way to the office, you know, that's from, if you take a detour from Ashe Road, you know, to come through Alade Sonmi to, you know, bust out around Abiola Way here, I noticed that at every junction or every other junction, there's this pile, you know, Alade Sonmi.
Oh, okay.
There's usually this pile of debt, you know, there. It was there on Friday, but I stepped out yesterday afternoon and I saw that everywhere was, you know, cleared. As I guess the trucks had come and had, you know, packed all of those things. Surprisingly, by the time I came this morning, by the time I was, you know, passing through this morning, I saw that those things had, you know, gathered again. Those debts had gathered again. And I was asking myself, I was in the car with Ayolu Asholaji, and I was asking him, I said, between yesterday afternoon, around 1, when I, you know, passed through this place, everywhere was clean and what have you. And as at this morning, the place was looking like it had not been touched in about a week. So as much as we call on government to always do the needful, you know, to ensure that we park all of these things, that our streets are not dirty, we must always, you know, always also talk to ourselves, because at the end of the day, it's our people that dump this, you know, refuse by the roadside. So it boggles me sometimes when we say government is not doing its job, but then as citizens, as people, we also are not doing, you know, taking our own part of the responsibility. It's saddening, you know, for me especially, because we come here, we talk about how government is not doing enough, but then the people themselves, you know, are not being responsible enough.
Right. Well, Boyega, as much as I mostly agree with you, the truth is the waste disposal system in Ogun State needs to be more efficient. I mean, it needs to be more than just the trucks coming to pack the waste with more frequency. Clearly, people have gotten used to what is an anomaly in itself, which is dumping refuse by the roadside. I don't know how a group of people decide that is a particular or a designated place to dump refuse, but there are several spots as you drive about town where you see that people have gotten used to dumping refuse there. And if we deter them, and by we, I mean government, if government hopes to stop this practice, it is by deterring people from dumping refuse there at all. I mean, I don't know of a waste disposal system where people just pick a random spot, visible spot by the side of the road, beside someone's place of business, someone's residence, in the middle of the road, where they decide this is where we're going to dump refuse. I know the spot beside us right here at Splash FM used to be a prominent dumping site, and then for a while it was abated because governments enlisted someone to watch that spot, and people complied. I mean, out of fear, definitely not because they respected, that place. But then after a few weeks went by, it was back to status quo. Ostensibly because the person assigned to watch the place probably left or whatever. But government needs to come up with a better or more efficient way of disposal. Deter people from dumping refuse by the roadside because it's an anomaly. We shouldn't be dumping refuse at an open place. We should have garbage trucks. The waste disposal truck should go to people's houses and pack them. So I would suggest that we improve, the method of disposing waste.
All right, and a quick reminder that you can join us via our other means aside from the radio. You can join us via Radio Garden. We're also streaming live on Facebook, and you can join us on Twitter Space as well. We're trying to experiment with that as well, and we're live on Twitter Space at the moment. So it means that if you're on Twitter, you can join us right there. Just search for Splash FM 1067. And then we'll be glad to have you there, have you join us on the program. So, good morning once again. Thank you so much for joining us.
Don't forget, we also have our regular Facebook where we live stream, Splash FM 106.7. So now you're spoiled for choice. If you prefer Twitter, Splash FM 106.7. We're live on Twitter Space, so you can listen live there. And you can also comment on Twitter. #Panorama. On Facebook, we remain Splash FM 106.7, where we're also live streaming, and you can drop a comment in the comment section there. And of course, there's WhatsApp, where you can't listen live, but you can drop a comment on the WhatsApp number 0817-555-106. 0817-555-1067.
All right, let's get straight to our issue of the day now. Money, or perhaps the lust for it, is said to be the root of all evil. Despite the literal use of the word evil in this age-old saying, one's imagination on the lengths man would go in the pursuit of wealth falls far below reality. As seen in the case of 17-year-old Wariz Oladende, 19-year-old Abeokuta Lukman, and 20-year-old Mr. Kim Balogun, who were reported to have been caught burning the head of a girl they killed for money ritual purposes at the Okearegba area of Abeokuta.
Allegedly, the deceased girl, Rafiat, was said to have been lured to his room by her boyfriend, Soliu, who is now on the run, where he held her down and asked one of his friends to cut her with a knife. After killing Rafia, the boys cut her head, packed the headless body in a sack, and started burning the head in a pot. They then told the police in the presence of a mammoth crowd that they wanted to use her head for money ritual. The story of ritual killings
for money is hardly a novelty, but given the age of the boys, that complicity, collusion, callousness, and the cold-bloodedness involved, if this dastardly act is to be believed, many are aghast and outraged at what the Nigerian society has seemingly degenerated into. Chilling events like this appear to be occurring with more frequency, and the perpetrators could often be anybody. Fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, husbands, wives. This forces us to examine if the fabric of our society is torn, and if so, how it can be mended. Our issue of the day this morning takes a closer look at the spate of ritual killings today.
And joining us, we have public affairs analysts Ayuara Ojolu as well as Ustaz Jibril Lawa. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, Boyega, Lola. It's cool to be here.
Good morning to you, Stars, as well. Thank you for joining us.
So, thank you for having me.
So let's start by taking your reaction before we delve into some other pertinent issues as regards these unfortunate incidents. I saw a video yesterday of the elder sister of the victim, and it was heart-wrenching, not even heartbreaking to say this. So let's start with Ayuara Ojolu. Let's take your thoughts as to the events that has necessitated our issue of the day today.
Well, this is how I will start. It is alarming. It is a trend that has become so dastard, so gruesome, But shockingly, heaven and earth inspired Paul to tell Timothy somewhere in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. He tells us that in later times, some things will happen. This is nothing but end time signals. Then in 2 Timothy, 3 verse 1, he tells us that there will be perilous times and that three things will happen. Number one, people will be lovers of themselves. That's self-absorbed, selfishness. Number two, that people would care nothing about other people. It's just about themselves alone. And number three, they will be money hungry, lovers of money. Money is not something to really, money, Bible says money answers all things and money is a defense. But when you really look at it, there are things that money cannot answer. If you are ill, you need God's intervention. It's not money. There have been billionaires who told the doctors, please, just anything, just go and do it. Money cannot answer for peace, to get the peace of mind. Now, talking about what has happened over the weekend, incidentally, I live in Okiaregba, so I should feel the pain more. But it's also a reflection of the society in. It means that even here in this land that we live, people do some fetish things. People still do some things under the cover of darkness, and it's just unfortunate. Maybe let me just stop there. Let me make it a preamble.
Ustaz would also like to take your own opening thoughts.
Thank you so much. And listeners at home too. It's really a pathetic thing, no doubt about it. Not just pathetic, it's horrific. And when you see the video going around, it's really horrific, it's pathetic. But before I really go into details, I want to first and foremost thank you, people in the radio, journalists generally. You are the conscience of the nation, and at every point in time, you are helping to bring about conversation onto the front burner. Things that, how do we go about it, how do you solve it? And I think this is important for our development as a people. So I want to appreciate you for bringing up this again. The reason for you bringing up is for us to discuss it and find a way to solving these challenges, which are social, that's social implications. Two, before I go really deep into it again, I want to bring about a caveat. Number one, whatever I'm going to say here is not to justify whatever has happened. People listening to me at home should not, misconstrue whatever I'm going to say here. We're going to need to look into the causes. If you want to solve a problem, you need to diagnose it and look for causes. So I'm going to think of what I'm saying, what I think will be causes, and whatever I'm going to say too should not be privileged as the only truth of what is available out there, but it's for all of us to discuss it. So having said those two caveats, we live, the character of our society is what I want to call pathogenic, and by that I mean people do things out there that you want to easily copy. In Nigeria, that is our attitude, and it's not just Nigeria, all over the world. If something is happening somewhere, it has riveting implication somewhere out there again. So whatever it is that we're seeing now should not be seen just as an exclusive thing in itself, but it's a result of several other actions that we are taking in our society. Now, I want to ask a question generally. Can anybody, here, you guys here, you are young people, you are working. Can you come out and tell me what in the system what the system has done to protect you financially? That, you have graduated from school, the next thing you want to think of is how to live, basic, moderate life, of comfort. Have an apartment, maybe have a small car, with which you can go around together in the present system? Is there anything in the system that guarantees such a thing for you as a young individual in Nigeria? Don't tell me no. I know the answer is no. There is nothing out there. Unlike 70s, in the late 60s, early 70s, mid 70s, when the student graduates, even he does not need to go to university, even as a secondary school leaver, second school leaving certificate, that is WAEC, out there is a job waiting for you. You are assured of basic things of life, to live. Your parents are sure of getting something from you. Over time, these kind of opportunities have been eroded. I hope you are getting it.
Well, we see.
And that's why I'm saying that whatever I'm saying here is not to privilege. It's not to say, okay, what they've done is justified. But we need to look at causes. And because of the kind of society that we are living in, when you look at it now, politicians, somebody is elected into the office. He just comes out from nowhere, suddenly becomes a parvenu. Money comes in here, maybe a councillor, start riding cars on the road, etc. And somebody is going to the office, suddenly in the news, you hear billions of naira being stolen, etc. You go to the office, money is being embezzled by people out there. All this monetized society. And for an average young person out there is actually nothing that he can hold on to. There is actually nothing he could say he want to live onto. And don't forget that we have a materialistic society. Sachin Opeta said sometimes ago, baby want for beautiful dresses. He even said, baby want for beautiful motto. All these things, now ego, they cost. You are getting it. We are gradually, systematically planting terrible thoughts into the head of our young ones. And the legal way of making such income is not really there. Then suddenly we move to the satanic level of it. I have just mentioned fraud. Then the satanic level of it. All over society, we live in a society that believes that you could make money, through spiritual means. You could make money by making rituals. Look, we live in Abeokuta. No doubt about it. There are some houses in Abeokuta here that, have been abandoned because the owners of those houses were said to have made money rituals for them to build those houses. They are there on the street of Abeokuta. So these children live within this society that, privileged materialism. They live in a society that privilege money for everything they want to do. And they listen to stories of their ancestors and fathers who were involved in money rituals. So all these things coupled together are what eventually is becoming, the story, the narrative of our young ones, not just in Abeokuta, all over. Kidnapping, for money, stealing, armed robbery, thuggery, for money, because everything about us now evolves around the money. And I said it's a pathogenic society where whatever you do actually impact in fact it impacts on what others are doing. So these are the challenges that we have, and these are the root causes we need to look into. Unless and until we address this reality of our time, we might not be able to have a way forward. If we want to keep on saying what has become of our youth, nothing extraordinary has become of our youth. It is this older society, the generation before them, that have not done what is supposed to be done for them, and that have planted, a system value that is wrong into their mind.
Now, we seem to have established that the Nigerian society today is one that has a craze for wealth, a materialistic society. And you've said it is enabled by a system, but who exactly? I mean, you said it isn't necessarily the youths of today, that it preceded them, the generation before. And you've also hinted at, the government's responsibility is such that one's financial security is not guaranteed after an education. But who are I want you to maybe, should I say name and shame, but who exactly is responsible? Because there are some who also say the family, the smaller unit of society, is where it begins, where this decay, this rot in our value system begins. So who created a society and who enables a society where the lust for money has reached this manic degree? Is it everyone in the society at all levels, individuals, even the religious institutions too, perhaps? Who are those responsible for making it this way?
All of us. When I was growing up, my father and mother were not the only gatekeepers of discipline. when I was growing up. I don't know of others, but I am talking of myself now in my late 50s. And I'm talking of, 70s, 80s. My fathers and my mothers were not the only gatekeepers of discipline. When you walk on the street and you do something terrible, even before your father gets to know that you have done something wrong, somebody from the beginning of your street has started gaining you and take you home to your father. And when they take you home to your parents, the father will ask the person, why did you not come and tell me? You should have beat him more before you bring him home. Can you do that now? So all of us, we imbibed a system, the European system of life that is not suiting or that we don't understand. So everybody now is to himself. And that's where the problem comes in. Even our educational value system is terrible. But apart from why in 1995, when he was a minister for education, wrote and said that we need to bring about a new value system. And moral was ahead of such. Does that thing in our schools? This has been taken away. So our society, systematically was building a future that is going to result in what we are having now. When you look at Zamfara Forest, Katsina Forest, all those that are there are teenagers and young people. Somebody, one system brought them to that house. Not just their parents, but the entire society. And that's the problem. So all of us are involved. We are concerned.
All right. So are you already doing?
I do not necessarily agree with my very eminent colleague here. The reason is this. Nigeria does not exist in isolation. Even when we talk about Africa, we are still a part of the world. Africa or Nigeria is not the only society that is materialistic. So we cannot establish that quest for materialism as the cause. What has happened basically is that this thing has been foretold. That's number one. And God cannot lie. And he tells us the reason why it is so. Love for money. If you love money unnecessarily, it will happen. The other day, they paraded two suspects from Osun State. I saw the video. Young, just teenagers. They said, how many people have you killed before? They said they have only killed two. And by the admission, if they say two, that means only God knows how many they have killed. This was his girlfriend, just having something to do, just like this one. They even did some things amoral with the lady. Then they twisted the neck. It's the same thing they did here. Then they they sliced the head. Okay, where did you take the head to? They said they took it to one affair somewhere, sold it for 20,000 naira. 20,000 naira that cannot buy a bag of rice. Okay, what did you do with the money? You must have seen the video and they say, Afishe Faji. If you look at that scripture very well, when you are too money hungry, then one fan of Faji. People who like pleasures, lovers of pleasure, it's erosion of values. That's what you would say. In fact, it has never been this. The way it's rampant now. We grow up to know that there are people conscious who did money rituals, but it's not a rampant case. Why is it that it's almost every street that you can point to people who don't have anything they are doing, but yet they are wealthy.
Right.
The interesting aspect to this is maybe the age of, the people involved. We're talking a 17-year-old, a 19-year-old.
The oldest is
20-year-old. So my question is, how much pressure possibly could the society have put on someone that is 17?
Very good.
That could necessitate them, wanting to become rich.
That is where the society now comes in. The political class, they are particularly guilty of this. I said something in my preamble. The environment we are in is fetish. They find out during election time, you see albinos, they'll be missing. You see some pregnant mothers sliced, slaughtered. It's not, see, all these things, they are not new. But what is happening, like you said, all these teenagers' involvement, but they also can see the craze for money, self-centeredness. We vote somebody to be in the office, to be governor. We vote people, they get appointed. They keep bullion vans in their homes. And we see that, and even we ourselves, we that are at the grassroots level, you see people, the way they comment, it's as if it's not a big deal. The sense of impunity. You allow people to buy whole streets just because they have become governor. Where is the values? So this is what we are saying, and we are saying basically, as scriptures have said, and it cannot be broken. People will love themselves more than others. You were talking about refuse just a while ago. What do you think is the cause? People are lovers of themselves. Why don't they leave those refuses in their homes? You go to you drive on the road, you drop the refuse. You don't care about another person. Okay, if they are not lovers of themselves, why don't they use their own head to make money? Another thing is that our judicial system, our law enforcement system is faulty. If you find out now, nothing will happen to those boys. If you find out and give it time, or sometimes they get justice delayed, about 5 years. Look at the one that happened in Ife. Look at those cases. If not because of social media, if not because of the media, some of those cases would have been buried. The sense of impunity that allows you to get away. Look at, we are dealing with 3 categories of people here. We are dealing with fraudsters. We are dealing with Yahoo. We are dealing with, with criminals. And they combine these things together. Somebody who wants to be a fraudster to make money through Yahoo Plus is a criminal. He will have to do things like that. You see them on the road. You go to us camp, Alabata Road. Some policemen are there 24/7. When I'm driving, nobody will accost me because there's no sign that I'm a Yahoo person. But you see them stop some cars because of the way those people dress. And those people smile out, they shake their hands. What are we saying?
All right. Well, we're still in conversation with Ayara Ojolu, who is a public affairs analyst as well as a pastor. So you might understand, the religious undertones in his message. And we also have Ustaz Jibril, who is with us at the studio as well, who's also a Muslim cleric. And we're looking at the spate of ritual killings in light of the recent murder of a young girl, Rafiat, by 4 teenagers. One is on the run. Allegedly, 17-year-old Wariz Oladende, 19-year-old Abdulgafar Lukman, and 20-year-old Mustakim Balogun not just killed her, but beheaded her and intended to use her body parts for money ritual purposes. And we're looking at this in light of the increasing frequency of these types of incidences, horrific incidences. Now, Ustaz, whenever there's any social issue, we oftentimes turn instinctively to the government. The government is everyone's favorite whipping boy, for issues. Now, in this case, maybe the question is not should we blame the government, it's how much blame should we apportion to the government? Is there a direct link between these incidents and perhaps the government's failure or maybe the economic indices?
No, thank you. Let me start by saying that my brother Arojo, he said he has some Aro Jolu has disagreement with some of my points, but eventually he came back to my points. Values. Yeah, to those values. I'm coming. Why I did not bring about issue of what God said is because if God said it, does that mean that we are jinxed? No, we can't. You see, when God says something, yes, he has told us and he'll tell us these are the things that would sustain such things. And those are the things I'm trying to bring up because the essence of this conversation is to find a solution. It's not just to say it and leave the studio. And I'm going to repeat it. Number one, due to lack of moral education, Nigerian youth have come to see antisocial behaviors as the only hope of enriching themselves. I will repeat, due to lack of moral education, Nigerian youth have seen, all these criminalities, fetish things as the only way of, making money. And I asked a question. I said, as young people, just leaving university, do you have a security system that guarantees your basic things of life that you need? The answer is no, unlike we had in the 70s. Let me go. Before I take what she said. Another thing is, the Nigerian youth today are in a state of confusion. We can't deny that. Why? On account of conflicting messages from parents, elders on one hand, and the effect of the various mass media, social media, radio, etc., the thing they listen to. So they're in a state of confusion. Which way do they need to follow to go ahead? So when we want to look at how to solve this problem, I'm trying to bring about these are the issues, these are the issues, these are the issues. We need to look into them. Now, I'll ask a question. How much
blame
can we, how much, or how deep can we blame government on issues like this? You see, when we talk of government, we love putting blame on abstract things. Who is government? The people eventually becomes the government. Like I said, there is a value that we have placed out there. We place too much emphasis on certificate. So people now, cheat to pass exam. But before then, they've been presenting fake certificate to work. Then, it now got to the fact that, okay, why are you presenting fake certificate? They go to examination center and they are not the one that write the exams. JAMB registrar was telling us recently that parents are those that perpetrate the highest of evils when it comes to the usual exam malpractice, because they follow their children to the exam center. A parent that follows the child to an exam center and is ready to bribe the invigilator, what kind of value are you putting into the child? When your child goes out and you're asking a question, others are bringing money home. What are you going to come and give me? These are the issues. When parents sit down and their child, they don't know the sources of his income, comes home and they said, and want money. These are the issues we are talking about. So all these antisocial things, all these morals that we not put into children are culminating into all we are having now. And that's what I'm saying. That for us to really get a hold on this, we need to go and visit what were the things. I mean, in the 70s, in the 60s, people were still having craze for money, but it wasn't like this, like you said. People were, we grew up to know gomo, you understand? But it wasn't like this. But even then, it wasn't young people. You ask a question, what is in society that is putting pressure on teenagers? You understand? You ask that question, what is in society that is suddenly putting pressure on teenagers for this craze for money? And the answer is a simple one. Everybody out there now, every young person out there now, when you look at social media, they want to show I'm there, they want to, do these, the babes want to use these, etc. So these are the issues. We need to look into all those areas and begin to re-engineer our morals from our schools, from primary schools, secondary schools, society, start looking for creating opportunity for people. Government will need to come in. What are the opportunities that are there for young people that when they leave school, they can have access to fund, either for their business, etc. Create legit business, create legit means of making money, through the regular government system. Then 2, let the penalty, he has mentioned it, the issue of, our justice system. There is a problem. Now we see people, when you go to offices, somebody that embezzles money, a person that embezzles money in the office is not different from a person that cut somebody's head. Because the money that he has embezzled belongs to everybody. The money that he has embezzled, money that is meant for instance, children's education, for instance, drugs in the hospital, somebody sits on it and embezzles such money. What's different of such a person and a person that has cut off somebody's, beheaded somebody for money? You understand? The difference is just that the names you give them. The names you give them. So what I'm saying is we need to look at all this. Let people that have done something wrong, even in high quarters, be brought to justice. When this does not happen, and they see how they go there, they bring back money. Children, call them children, 17, 18, they see how people make money and nobody's asking questions, nobody's, saying this is wrong. They too definitely want to do something. So the society needs to come and sit down. Government is a collective of society. We form the morals. The morals they give us from home. Like I told you when I was young, My father and my mother were not the only gatekeepers of discipline. Everybody in the community is a gatekeeper. Now, can you do that? So these are the issues that we need to look into.
I recall that there's been certain issues as well. There was one of a guy who said his mom asked him to use his younger brother, for ritual.
Of course.
There was also another one of a boy who tried to use his mom as well. He stabbed her, but somehow she was able to, escape and all of that. So my question now is, and I'm going to come to Ayarojo too, because people have not really examined this angle. And I know there are unofficial means of, educating people. And we have, for you to become a pastor, for instance, there are the, seminaries, the theological schools, and what have you. I listened to the interview when those boys were being, interrogated by journalists. And they were asked, what class are you? And, they said, Anlolekeo. I think about two of them, or thereabout. When I was also listening to the sister's audio yesterday, she said, Afa Mustakim, meaning, someone who is, training or who has become a cleric somewhat. So, Ustaz, what I want to ask is, this Ilekeo system, is it possible that, because you find out that when these issues happen, there is a pastor somewhere where these, people have harvested the parts and taken it to, or there is an affair somewhere. So can it be institutionalized, like we have the seminaries, we have the theological schools. I'm not sure if we have that. You are a cleric. So instead of parents, giving their children to affairs, instead of going to schools, as an alternative. First, should it be an alternative? And then what can be done to ensure that people do not, see this as a means to now be able to delve into some things that are, dark and, fetish and what have you. I don't know if you get where I'm going.
I got your question. We need to first and foremost understand the fact that as Africans, we are fetish. So a number of the things that you see people do out there under the names of religion, whatever religion they profess, is not what that religion taught them. It's what they have inherited from their culture, from the tradition. You understand? Nobody will tell me he opens the pages of the Quran and he told them that this is where, how to make money and the ritual money. There's nowhere in the Quran you find that. So whatever it is that they're doing, the Quran told us, I think that we are taught those people by genes. So it's not any religion that is teaching usually like that. Allah said in the Quran that they were taught by the jinns. Not even Solomon. Solomon did not teach them magic. He did not teach them anything like that. But it was the jinns, how to Babel that taught them that in the town of Babylon. But that's a different story. So no religion teaches fetish, things like that. Ritualism, no religion teaches that. It's the things that we have inherited, from culture, tradition. That is that. On the issue of institutionalizing, schools and Arabic schools in Nigeria, we have so many of them that are institutionalized. Even in this Abeokuta, on this way, you see what you call this Abiola school. There is a madrasa, a school there. It's a standard Arabic school that people go there, spend 4 years, spend 6 years, and they have a certificate, etc., diploma that will lead them to university. So we have that. But then we see have those that are, happening in our various communities, our homes, etc. But like I said, it is not religion that teaches things like that. It's because people just want to do it. When you look at the same book of Moses that people say they read and etc., and some people will say, okay, some white garment churches comes in. Ask them where in the Bible did they see things like that? Well, it is the system, it is the culture that we have that brings, and the pressure for success is pushing some people into things like this materialism, making them to do this, and that's why they have patronage, because there are people that are patronizing them. We can't take that away from them. People are going there. People that believe that, okay, they could do it in the whitish way, doing black, doing evil, or doing, magic, in a different way. So that's the thing. So those are the things we need to look into. Religion is not the promoter of things like that.
Okay, well, similar but not same. Also with religious institutions, we know that they are often vested in moral instruction, perhaps even more so than other facets of society. We expect our religious leaders are going to tell us what is the right thing, how to have a moral compass. So, Can we look at this as actually a failure of religious institutions as well? Like what they are not doing enough of, or what they should be doing more of. Oftentimes, we see a lot of religious institutions in today's society preaching the gospel of material wealth. There are some who say it's more amplified now than it used to be in the past. And there are even those who say that these religious institutions also accept patronage from people they know have questionable wealth. So, have our religious institutions failed with the task of moral instruction that is their primary purpose? And what can they be doing more of to steer us back on the right path? Are you original?
Okay, I first and foremost agree that a lot of us have failed sectorally, institutionally. But let me first say that we have been able to forge some consensus, But I want to disagree with this notion that Africa is fetish. Africa is not fetish. Africa is a lover of tradition and culture. Because for crying out loud, there are still best practices. Depending on the home that you came from, there are best practices in Africa. What is happening is that there are some deviant behaviors. If you are talking about fetishness, I have not, certainly somebody like me, I don't come from, that line. We had our grandfathers, our ancestors, some were very good people, Now, what we are saying is this. When that thing had been foretold, and like he said, it doesn't mean we are jinns. No, we are not jinns. That same verse down says, but you, in order not to fall victim of the perilous times, that you must have 4 things: patience, perseverance, steadfastness, and faith. This is what has been eroded. When he said something, he said, the people must know how to get money properly. This is the problem. Emphasis on money. What is the money?
But do we not need money for survival?
But that's what I'm saying. Money is a messenger. Money cannot be your Lord.
So it's necessary.
It cannot be your master. No, money, you need to once in a while put your leg on the money and say, this money, you will not control me. That's why you see that people, once they have money, there have been somebody in this Abeokuta. He saw coffins going, and they were dancing, carrying coffin, a dead man, because he had money and fame. He did something and broke the coffin with the dead person.
I think Ustaz was simply saying that money is a necessity. Everyone
I agree.
for money, but not.
But money,
over
money should not rule over you. You tell your children all the time. See, you must be patient. You cannot have money overnight. You can't get money overnight. You can't get rich overnight. Look, let me tell you, it doesn't mean as high some people think we are, that we are not broke. Sometimes I don't have anything in my bank balance, and I move. You see, we need to bring back the brain, to reset the brain of the youth. Money is a necessity, but there is a process to getting money.
Do you know why people abandon integrity, abandon discipline in pursuit of money? Because we have privileged materiality.
And that's what I'm saying.
I'm coming to that.
What I'm saying is that there is no justification for fetishness to cut somebody's head just because some people have money.
All right.
That's what I'm saying.
When there's no legit way of doing things, people take laws into their hands. People do things because they've seen people that have succeeded in it at society.
Do you know?
I'm not justifying
okay.
it. I'm only saying that these people too, what they see impact their action. And so what we need to do as a people, what we need to do as religious leaders is to change our narrative. The emphasis we place on materialism, the emphasis we place on success, we need to change it as a people. Government abandoned.
Stars, let me come to you. We have an entire generation of young Nigerians who.
Sorry, by the way, you didn't answer my question though.
And because he interjected. But
there is a myriad of, there is a number of young Nigerians who like both of you have said, I've seen how much we, worship materialism. The man who is richest in the streets, has the highest, title, even in religious organizations.
I remember how long Abeokuta trended.
Yes, So these young people, like Ustaz has said, are seeing these things. The society, the government, has not provided for them, quote and unquote. So what do we now do? Because this generation, they are there. And they are going to grow up to, eventually get to our own, age. Then also, of course, get to your own age as well. So what does the future look like? What are immediate solutions that we can look at? What are long-term solutions? Because as much as we come to talk about this, we must also look at how to save the future. Because people like us have children that are growing up. They are seeing all of this. And I remember when I was in higher institution, in the early 2000s, I remember that it started such that a number of my friends, we grew up together in church. We were in different units in church, doing our best as, our parents have taught us and, we've been taught by our religious leaders. It starts by buying a car in school. They don't bring it home. They have it in school. I have a couple of friends in Lautech. Then you start hearing rumors. Oh, this guy has a car in school. But when we all come home, maybe at Christmas or at Easter, you don't see the car. Few years after, they could bring it home. Because I'm trying to trace, how we got to this point. Few years later, it became that they could now come home with the cars. And, their parents just assumed that, okay, maybe my son is doing something in school, he's doing a business. But it has now gotten to a point where nobody seems to care. Up to a point where a parent can say, don't worry, use your younger brother. So what are immediate solutions?
Okay.
What are long-term solutions?
You see, the things that make human life miserable are preventable. The thing that makes them to do all these kind of things they get into are preventable. And the ways of preventing them are known. I will explain. When you steal money, what do you want to do with the money? Live in good home, ride comfortably, things like that. All these things does not happen in advanced European countries because these are basic things they found out there. There is an opportunity for them to get a home when they finish school. There is a loan that will give them, guarantee them, accommodation. There is a loan that guarantees them car, all those things, being able to eat daily. So those are things that we need to do that make this into preventable. And that's where government comes in. Number two, you see, recently, Ogun State government did something, but to me, that is one thing we do. They came up with and the governor was saying, look, because of the information he had, people were attacking him. They said, no, don't attack this man. He has access to information. He has access to security report, and that's why he's doing what he's doing. We now saw that it was justified. I'm not talking politically, I'm just being honest. It was justified by doing that. But would that sort of problem? No. Ogun State government equally went ahead and said, okay, parents should come to school. Commission of Education said parents should come to school, come and sign undertaking that your child, your son, your daughter in our school will behave. Those are actions that government are taking, but it's not enough. Now, what do we need to do further, like your question you have said? Number one, we can't do without going back to the religious houses because they are the bastion. They are ones that hold. They are the custodian of morals in our society. So we can't do without going back to them. So government will need to partner with religious houses, and see how to bring about, morals back into our school. The issue came up when government said they removed religious morals out of school in those days. And that was apart from what was in 1995. Let us introduce morals into our schools. There was a report, there was a project. It submitted the report, to government. It is still there. Let's go. I got to know when I was doing research for this program that there was a paper presented by Fafunwa in 1995 where he listed 5 basic things that we need to do morally. How to introduce moral curriculum back into our schools. That we need to do that. I know League of Mom and Alpha in Ogun State is doing something. They want to synergize, collaborate with Ogun State and the Ministry of Education on how to ensure that the morals back into the school. There is a seminar coming up on that very soon. Those are the kind of things to start doing now. New things, new actions that we're not doing before that brings about a way forward into re-socializing our people and changing their morals. It's the thing to do.
Okay. Look at the time. 0817 444 1067 0704 400 1067 0817 444-1067. We have Facebook. We're live on Twitter space Splash FM 1067. We're live streaming on Facebook as well, Splash FM 106.7. Let's take our first call of the day. You have 1 minute. Good morning.
Good morning, Tajidin from Magno.
You have a minute.
Yeah, thank you. Our religious centers, religious leaders have failed hopefully, sincerely, in all ramifications. Because look at what usually look at what they preach, and even when you meet a very revered pastor, a very big imam, when you meet them outside, you trying to greet them alone. You discover that kind of attitude. Once you are not in one big car, once you are not in one big agbada, they look down on you. You know, things like this happen so much, and I think the media is also causing series of problems for us. Both the newspaper, the radio media, the television media, every aspect of the media. You discover that very easy for the media to start shouting the video. Was able to raise 200 million naira within 2 hours. The video was able to do this. Hush Puppy was able to do this. Things like that. But severally, I've read news whereby you see people graduate with first class, very impressive CV, but they won't be celebrated. Even at the school level, they may give them at the level. The global best guidance state be given 10,000 naira as the price for such a feat, achieving such a feat. The media has also contributed a lot. Then the number one thing, which is the foundational problem, is the lack of parental care. Parents have failed seriously in their responsibilities. Parents have failed. Parents are now just meant to just give back. They give back without having any moral value inculcated in those children. Let me just allow others to quiet. There's a lot to say, but because of time, let me just allow others.
Thank you for your consideration, even though you overshot the time. But thank you anyway. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Afolabi.
My name, I'm calling from Abeokuta. Yes, it's only I'm limited to 1 minute. I would have liked to expand on the certain point. But let us take it that way. See, to me, the society as a whole is responsible for what we are seeing. And when I say the society begins from the home, we have, in the olden days or in those days, while I was young, I'm over 40 now, while I was very small, I know that there is a template by which we do things as children in our homes. So we don't just come by, do whatever you like to do. Now, parents of today, a lot of them just eat fast and leave the children to fend for themselves. From the experience I have in the kind of business I do, there are some kids that you see them in their, teens. They have nothing, to cater for themselves, but they will push them out to start looking for jobs. The parents will sleep at home uselessly. And at the end of the day, they blame poverty, they blame the government. Yes, the government is still responsible, we all know. But we are talking about our children. So the first blame from my own hand comes from the parents. We don't have moral teachings again. In fact, some kids, they dictate to their parents just because the parents are not born in their rightful place.
Please
now,
wrap
let
up.
us also look at social media. The movies the children watch, they influence them a lot. If you see most of our movies, the Nollywood movies, it is about, going about certain things, rituals, to make money, prostitution, and others. These are things kids are seeing.
Thank you, Afolabi. We do have to let you go now. But I don't know if in 30 seconds you can close. When we come back, we'll take more calls, and also take your comments on social media. So please just hold on for a bit. We'll proceed on a commercial break in about 30 seconds or a minute. But then when we come back, we'll take the rest of your calls. So let me start with you in 30 seconds, please.
30 seconds.
Let's have your closing
Well, let me say, because Lola is waiting for me to say that the church, the religious institution has failed. Yes, I agree. Just like he also said, he now said it will have to go back to the church, but to the religious institution. But let me tell you, it's a case of physicians. Heal thyself first. They a lot of people have failed. If somebody says a pastor and he can use blood or do some fetish things, that person is not a pastor. So
let's end on that note. Allow us to give us his parting shot.
Water is the basis of everything we need to clean. We use water to clean them. So if water is dirty, what we need to do is first and foremost purify it, then use it now as a purifying agent. If your homes are the cause of morals and they have problem, let government come in to start controlling those homes and use them positively well for the development of society in changing morals and bringing morals back to school. They need to synergize, collaborate with institutions for us to have a new future. That's my take.
All right.
Thank you very much. It's been a robust edition of Panorama. Thank you, Ayo Arowojulu, for your time. And thank you, Ustaz Jibril, for your time this morning. We'll go on a commercial break. Keep your comments coming in on social media. We'll read them as well as take a few more calls when we return. Stay with us, please.
Don't dare touch that dial. It's Splash, your integrity station.
bí a bá ń fọgbọ́n ṣe dandan ká gbé ìgbésẹ̀ pẹ̀lú rẹ̀ ìgbésẹ̀ ọ̀hún rèé tí iléeṣẹ́ àgbàdo homes and property ní ká gbé gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọlọ́gbọ́n torí pé a ò gbọ́dọ̀ sí kọ́kọ́rọ́ kù ọ̀yá dam pressure estate 200,000 ní tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí 100,000 lẹ́sàn Gusi estate òṣìẹ̀lẹ̀ àti randa high level phase 2 kọ́pàpẹ́ àti sódẹ̀kẹ́ tuntun phase 2 600,000 ní tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí 300,000 lẹ́sàn ilẹ̀ ń bẹ ní ìdíòrì blessed city garden 2.4 million naira ní tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí 1.2 million lẹ́sàn onígangan 1 million naira ní lọ́lọ́ báyìí 500,000 ní gbẹ́tàn rẹ̀ ilẹ̀ oko mọ́lọ́gẹ̀dẹ̀ orílẹ̀ lógún ọlọ́run dá 25,000 ní plọ̀tì báyìí ilẹ̀ àgbẹ̀ kọ́bápẹ́ alábàtà ọ̀pẹ́jì 30,000 per plot bẹ́ẹ̀ bára plọ̀tì mẹ́ta ìdajì lẹ́gbàsí ó sì jẹ́ éèkà lẹ́ra ẹ̀ ó gbòdìdì kan sí 39 NT road ọgbẹ̀ Abeokuta 07044648338 07044648338 gbé ìgbésẹ̀ lónìí àwọn ètò kọ́kọ́rọ́ kù ọjọ́ kẹwàá oṣù kejì ọdún tá a wà yìí láǹfààní yóò pẹ́.
The excitement and the banter never stops on Sports Cafe. Journey with us as we take you through every beat of action and news from tennis to basketball, athletics, boxing and mixed martial arts, Formula One, golf and many more.
Well, it's all about Usain Bolt. 2 meters clear, 3 meters clear, 5 meters clear, and away he goes. He continues on his way towards another gold medal. Watch the clock.
And in the evenings, the round leather ball game is exclusive as we focus on football.
He went for the Panenka penalty and it went horribly wrong and it's saved by Mendy.
You also stand a chance to win amazing gifts on select days. Sports Cafe airs every weekday by 11:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. on Splash 106.7 FM, the Integrity Station. Join us as we get you in the groove.
Let's talk football. Football!
ìpìlẹ̀ gangan ládùn ayọ̀ àtẹ́yọ̀ homes limited tún gbé mùkẹ́kẹ́ dé lórí àwọn ilẹ̀ wọn pẹ̀lú àǹfààní tí kò lẹ́gbẹ́ Atlayo Golden Estate onígangan 250,000 nílẹ̀ wọn lórí plot kan Atlayo Golden Point Estate Randa phase 1 àti Atlayo Grace Estate Ọ̀fà phase 2 150,000 ní plot àwọn ilẹ̀ wọ̀nyí Atlayo Mega City phase 1 Òbúrò Òwò àti Atlayo Sussex Estate Akíjọlé Ọ̀bádà Extension 750,000 ní plot àwọn ilẹ̀ yìí bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti rà á lẹ́ láǹfààní sí àwọn ohun èlé ilé bíi plasma TV study fan washing machine blender 100 phone àti bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ bẹ́ẹ̀ sì ni lẹ́bẹ̀ẹ́ kákàkiri ilé-ògùn 30 Lagos Abeokuta express road ilé ẹja lónìbù lọ́nà tó lọ sí bíórì láfẹ́wọ́ Abeokuta 08138454500 08138454500 ìpìlẹ̀ gangan ládùn ayọ̀ mo ti donílẹ̀ mo ti dà láyọ̀ ọjọ́ 21 oṣù tá a wà yìí láǹfààní yóò pín.
Do you feel the need to take your business to greater heights, grow your business and services beyond your wildest imagination, and have your business and services get to your targeted audience in good time? Worry no more. The Integrity Station, Splash FM 106.7, has got all it takes to put your business and services on the map and give you the desired reach that you need. With our affordable rates, amazing reach, and quality programs, you can rest assured that we will take your business to greater heights. Do business with us today. For inquiries and advert placements, outdoor coverage, events, and many more, contact us via telephone on 0811 249 0809-0577 or visit our corporate office, Kilometer 1, MKO Abiola Way, Abetu Junction, Abeokuta, Ogun State. Splash FM 106.7, Abeokuta, the integrity station. We always have you covered.
We're not going to cuss at you. We're not going to yell at you.
We're just going to give you the best of information and entertainment that everyone can agree on.
Splash FM 106.7.
Panorama.
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 Panorama. Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
Welcome back to Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM. Before we get to the phone lines, let's also see if we can take on somebody from space. I don't know if Napoleon, you requested, if you can quickly, if you can say something, you can hear us. We'd like to take your comments. We'll still take more calls as well, just to also take more reactions, because I know it's an exhaustive conversation, and it is one that, okay, I think Napoleon is ready for us. You have the floor now.
Good morning, Mr. Abuiga, and good morning to Lola.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I really enjoyed your show. What I want just to say is this rate of ritual killings, every day it's escalating. I was traveling last week. I was in the car with some Yahoo guys. They call themselves, two of them. And what they were saying is the rate at which they are saying these things is as if this business they are doing is illegal something. So they said admin is not for Yahoo and other riders. What will be the fate of people in this country? So I don't know. It's like the system in this country is not okay, and everybody is just looking for one way or the other to get something on that thing, even though it takes them the life of anybody. So government should do something urgent about it, and or maybe just pass the law. Anybody that is involved in this kind of thing, they should, a legal punishment to be given to them. So that is all what I just want to say.
All right. Thank you, Napoleon, for joining space and for also speaking as well. So let's get back to the phone lines now. Let's take your more contributions before we head to the next segment of the show. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Lola, good morning. Olabode is my name.
Olabode.
I don't quite disagree much, with Mr. Arudulu and Mr. Z's perspectives and submission. By and large, everything we are discussing still boils down to what the solutions will be. They have spoken at length, regarding the medium-term and long-term solution. But I don't think there still should be anything justifiable holding us from administering, the short-term solution, the most immediate and the most important solution to this. So a swift like-for-like justice need be started being served in these cases. I mean, these are cases of culprits who have openly confessed to having truly committed these heinous crimes. What on earth are they still doing alive? Related cases of the confessed killer of the digital TV CEO is still lingering. And we still had another one that happened at Alarigo. It's one affair, all these evil affairs too. Over a month now, what are they still doing alive? We had another one of a mother that conspired with the elder son. So all these things, I think we keep on happening. So what we start serving as deterrence. So I think this is the immediate solution. We shouldn't be looking over. So this is the part we want the government to start taking stand measures over this. Then the medium and the long-term solution, fine. That's very, it comes into this kind of discussion. But the immediate solution, what are we doing? Are we saying that we want to scare them?
Please, thank you very much. Well, our constitution, is clear. until the court pronounces you guilty. The other one you are referring to, is this Super TV CEO now? I know the lady even now came back to recount.
Yes,
so
I mean, they could say they were unduly pressured into giving a statement that they are guilty.
Until the court, can say that this person is guilty, it remains so, except if anything changes, But let's get back to the phone lines now. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Uche calling from Abeokuta.
Uche, please go on.
Thank you. You see, in a country where we have over 5 million out-of-school children, where would you place that children tomorrow, and what do you expect those children to be out of school? You will agree with me that any child born in any motor park or garage will eventually become a driver, a conductor, a picking pocketer, or a future criminal. Everything boils down to the government. The system has failed. The government has doesn't have.
Hello? Hello? Yeah, good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from?
You are Solomon. I'm calling you from Lagos.
You're calling from where?
Lagos.
Lagos. Okay, please go on.
Yes. I laugh in Spanish. And I cry in French. You know why? We want to put every blame to government. So it's government. A 17-year-old boy. What is he looking for? Is he unemployment? Is he a graduate? So we want to blame government for this also. Your daughter is 19 years old. He bought a phone, iPhone of 250,000 home. You did not ask that question. Where did you get this phone? Do you think that his boyfriend has bought iPhone of 250,000 for him? Namumu? The guy not the mumu. Look, in as much as we still continue to push that blame to government, we haven't seen anything. We are just starting. The other time when I said it, they say, hey, politicians who are embezzling money, why are you blaming Yahoo boys? Let them do whatever. And I told Nigerians that day, I said, look, when these boys refuse, or Oyibo refuse these boys to guard them, let me say it in our local language, they will do ritual. And your son, my own daughter, my own son, they are not safe any longer. So what are we talking about? So we are blaming government for this. Let's continue to blame government. Look, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All the way from Lagos, most likely listening to us via some of our digital platforms. We appreciate you. Let's make this the final call now before we get to the comments, because Sir Eddie, I know, is already with us in the studio. Hello?
Hello?
Good morning. We can hear you.
Yeah, this is Abolada. I don't know whether I can complete my 1 minute.
Okay. Please go on.
Yes, like I was saying, the first blame is on the parents. Today, we are having parents that don't, take care of the children again. They don't provide for their needs. They send them out to fend for themselves. Even those that are providing for the needs of the children, they don't have time to talk to them, to teach them how to live a good life. So we are all guilty. The government is irresponsible. We know that very sure. Even our religious places, they have not done much because we all worship money. And these children are being influenced by the movie industry and social media. All they are seeing around them, we pressure them, to think otherwise. We have to have a change of attitude. Everybody is concerned. We are all guilty of these things. If we don't do it,
we'll be very generous. Thank you very much, Afolabi.
And for Uche, we were trying to hear you, so we didn't intentionally cut you off because we were really struggling. The network wasn't clear, but I know you already made a point about how out-of-school children, is also a challenge in
Right.
this
For
regard.
anyone sending in comments on WhatsApp, be sure to include your name, okay? That way we can read your comments. So include your name, where you're texting from, and on Twitter, don't forget the hashtag Panorama. Let's head over to social media now.
Let's start with Facebook. Arumo Kunwayodeji is just saying good morning, Panorama. Sheson Ezekiah said, and I'm sure he's referring to what we opened the show with, talking about how dirty the streets of Abeokuta are. Most of us are dirty. Is waste the town decorator. Mecca, Rome, London are beautiful. It is the human being that makes it to be. Ifeda Milario Jeremy said, good morning. Okay, I'm not sure I understand what you're trying to say. Santer and Akila Lawrence said, good morning. Very happy with what you said as regards poor waste disposal and negligence of our people. The government is trying all possible means to ensure that Ogun State is clean. But alas, the character of our people has negated the hygienic practice of waste disposal. Some find it difficult to pay just a token to the PSP operators that will come to their various houses to evacuate the waste, thus making them to wake up at early hours of the day to dump refuse by the roadside. I think it is high time the State Ministry of Environment should bring up kick against indiscipline. Many in taxis, commercial cars drop their pet bottles, sachets on the roadside, and this is an act of wickedness. God help us. And then on our issue of the day, he said, these are the perilous times where abnormalities are being celebrated. Look at the likes of Association of Yahoo Mothers and the likes. Where have we gotten it wrong in our society? Teenagers looking for all ways to have money, drive all sorts of exotic cars, build mansions, etc. What a pity. We know if the likes of these guys are behind those who are missing in our environment, had it been they are not caught, this girl would have been declared missing, and these guys will be driving exotic cars all about. I can remember then when those who are guilty of any crime face firing squad and are shown on national TVs. This can also be replicated, and I think if this is done, anyone who wants to try this devilish act will think twice. These small boys should be killed without any delay, and if this is not done, we may start seeing them in our society in some months to this time. Well, we already addressed that when Olabode also, put that forward. But thank you, Santirin Akinola Oluwarantimi from Ashero. Adetayo Ademola Adeniro said, good morning, Olang Boyega. Welcome on board this week. Good morning, our guest. Issue of ritualists in our community this time around is something else, especially within the youth. But who is to blame? My brother, Boyega. Let me tell you, as one of your guests said, government has to be blamed first before the parents. Can you imagine when someone is wasting public funds for a candidate to win a political seat, and we saw it? Let the government do the needful. And I want to advise we parents to teach our children the way they should go. And when they grow, they won't depart from it. That's what the Bible says. Bwega, can I shock you? In Abeokuta here last year, people did Yahoo Mother's Day. That's from Engineer Adetayo Adeniro. And someone is saying, please, when will you discuss the rising cost of rent in Abeokuta in comparison with other places? It is becoming unbearable to afford this exorbitant rent in this harsh economy. Please discuss it one day. And part of what people said on social media is also how people build houses and, they ask you to come and pay a particular amount of money that you as, a working class cannot afford. So the people that can afford it are maybe these ritualists, these, Yahoo people. And it shows that even in that aspect as well, this is also being encouraged because the people who are, trying to make a living honestly cannot afford the basics, just like Ustaz said. But we'll definitely look at that because we also pay rent.
No, we pay rent.
Yeah, but what some other countries do is to provide accommodation in local government. In Britain, when you don't have social service, you don't have money, you don't have job, you are on the database, they continue giving you money on monthly basis and provide accommodation for you. Then when you get a job, they will move you out, put another person.
In Britain?
In Britain, yes.
All right. Well, let's get to the rest of the comments, but we'll definitely take a look at it.
Thank you, Obiochui.
You can be assured of that. Oyegbebi Atuma said, parents have a lot to do. We have single parents that will go out to put food on the table, but they forget moral teachings. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for your comments on Facebook.
Over to Twitter now.
Where we have loads of comments.
That we do. Thank you, everyone. Sheil Falola on Twitter says, we can continue to talk about this matter till eternity. If action plan to resolve this matter is not activated, nothing will change. In fact, more terrible things will still happen. Regardless of perspective, we're looking at the matter from We should do the needful. Our definition and perception of crime, social vices, and justice and impunity has been completely eroded. What do we expect in a society where education system is terrible, enforcement is horrific, judicial system is appalling, and our morals and values have completely broken down? Part of my own headache is the unusual hypocrisy learned from crude and wicked tradition that is infused into religion in our society. Ironically, we'll turn around and blame it on religious teachings. In my opinion, no religious teachings encourages people to be cold-blooded and evil. We need to redefine our social system. Families, schools, workplace, media platforms, music and movie platforms, religious gatherings, political gatherings, communities, associations are all interrelated, and their interrelationship should be redefined to address current realities. Our social system should be structured to enhance collaboration and coordination of action plan that will change the current narrative. We need an action plan that will positively orientate the youth. Action plan should constitute short-term, medium-term, and long-term. That was a long one, Shofalola. Surakat Abiodun says, we cannot take away the materialistic tendencies of younger Nigerians from the vices in society. There's a linkage between rituals and materialism as of today, and only a working system can reduce this to the barest level. You even see fraudsters being celebrated with titles. A working system would prevent all these social vices. Let governments, parents, and religious organizations step off their roles to changing the narrative. A frustrated individual is prone to temptation. Surakat wants to know the name of the Ustaz we invited. Ustaz Jibril Lawal is his name. As to sharing your contact, I'll check with him, and if it's okay, I'll connect you. Edwin Abayomi says the alumni of the boys' school close to your office there should quickly come together to rescue the institution, as it has fast derailed from the aspirations of the late founder and financier. They should decide if they want to raise Islamic scholars or babalawos. Ade F01 says, on the issue being discussed, the problem is societal, and the media and broadcast industry should take the largest blame. The broadcast films that reorientate our youth about how to make money from rituals, especially Yoruba films. Akorede Kamil has this to say: the two guests can disagree to eventually agree. Thank God both are religious leaders. I urge them to use their positions to teach the younger ones what religion says about value for life. Clearly, no religious influence whatsoever. And again, this discussion cannot be complete if we don't talk about promoters of this evil. People now make skits that they use their mom for rituals, and the dead woke up to slap their face. What nonsense is this? Halle Berry Mama says, good morning, Panorama. About the refuse issue, this last Saturday, I saw one aboki, those that pick scrap of metals, literally scattering all the refuse around. This happened at Abeokuta site, 6 a.m. in the morning. I hope something will be done about it. We're sure, the authorities are listening.
The first question is, should the debts even be there in the first place?
Lai Dokpamu says, good morning, my good people in the studio. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. Proverbs 22:6. Let's train our children in the way of God and let them know there is no shortcut to success. Ofemi says, all that has happened today as far as ritual killing is concerned started from what the youth learned from history of our cultural practices, particularly the olden generation. I still remember the practice of using human for sacrifice for 3 suck to be better. The government should regulate all forms of traditional practices and bring in sanity into it, so that young ones will not be bold and confidently approach them for ritual killings. There's no point allowing younger ones under 18 to approach a religious cleric for ritual, and it is being granted. When we have are you saying it's okay for an older person to approach and then it's granted? When we have regulations, any underage person that approach any religious cleric for ritual should be reported.
Or anybody at all.
It's what he's saying. Should be reported to the law. Ritual killings is not acceptable no matter the age. The age just makes it more shocking, but it doesn't mean it's acceptable when it's an older person. Should be reported to the law enforcement agencies. This ritual killing is everywhere. We're only hearing very few. There are more ritual killings going unnoticed. Go to Ilorin, where most of the Yahoo boys go and do the rituals. Go to Ibadan, where rascality, thuggery, and fetishism rules the society. We need a shift. I think that's about it on Twitter. Over to WhatsApp
and
now.
Somebody is commending, he said, Abeokutu's radio program on space is a nice move for me. Word and Splash. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate all the lovely words.
Yeah, that is just to, there's somebody mentioned the broadcasters and the media that we're not doing enough. I beg to disagree. All those movies, ritual killing, you subscribe to DSTV, you can buy it. I mean, you can buy, you spend your money to buy whatever you want to see, sexuality or whatever, but not on public broadcasters. No, on public broadcast stations, because there is NTBB. There are people monitoring you. Not only that, even there is a corporation, film corporation, that even previews it and don't allow it.
Nigeria Film and Video Censors Board.
But if you choose, to watch it, even there is parental, control. So it's not the fault of the media.
All right. Well, let's head to WhatsApp now. Ola from Adigbe.
And Eddie, we apologize. We've really eaten deep into when we should have.
It's okay. I'm fine.
I'm sure the story will also make its way to the newspapers as well. Ola from Adigbe says, "Good morning, Splash. It is alarming and furious as well that our youths are doing this. At 17, I was busy battling how to pass my JAMB and learning a handiwork. Mr. Kim and Co. are another victim of social emeritus and fake life that our social lifestyles portray. We don't know the next victim, but this has to stop." Engineer Tayo Adiniro says, "I think it's high time government needs to wake up and do something about this. People are very dirty, with due respect. Boyega, please, can government give us chance to arrest these people by ourselves? I promise you, police will lock more than 20 people in a week, especially in Kuto here." He's referring to the waste problem. Ademoye Haruna says, from Onikolobo says, "Leadership is a deterrent to every good society. That is why we choose notches to regulate society for us. What kind of life do our leadership live? What value do they have for money, to the fact that before we install any political position, there'll be a kind of bloodshed? What kind of life do our politicians possess?" Okay, I'm not sure that I understand the framing, but let me move over to Nicholas's comment, where he says, "Lola, the Abeokuta you mentioned was with Abba Kyari, a wanted cop with the Senate president and the so-called powers that be, at the wedding of the son of the IGP at the palace of the Shehu of Borno. What message does that send to Nigerians? A 17-year-old male or female anywhere in Nigeria is supposed to be thinking of university admission or learning a handiwork. If he or her parents or guardians are constrained, this is what happens when we pay lip service to everything. Shebi, we are talking because it went viral. What of the unreported cases? The things where they happen, where we know past the one where we know." That's from Nicholas. And Olajuwon says, "Our culture of Omoluabi became eroded the moment we started having leaders that are materialistic and covetous. However, we cannot rule out bad parenting and also our religious leaders who preach materialism as the true gospel of Christ. In the book of Acts 8, verses 1 to 9, Philip went to Samaria and preached Christ, not money, not material wealth. Even the Bible says that we should seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things that the gentle seek shall follow you. We need to preach Christ and nothing else." Top of the morning and greetings. Back to Boyega's introduction on refuse from Oshiele Market to Ashero. There's only one trash center, which is only at Oshiele Market. Where do you want the occupants of Aregbe, Obantoko, and Ashero to trash their dirt? Secondly, one of the analysts quoted the Holy Book. My question is it only in Nigeria the world is going to end? Lastly, on the matter of ritualists, I hope Nigerians will not end up doing just jungle justice if the court keeps delaying judgments. That's from Real One, Uketade. Olabode says, "My earlier point is, why on earth are we unduly extending the trial span of these heinous crimes? I'm not disputing the fact that there should be due legal process to be strictly followed in serving justice to these culprits caught red-handed. All this story should not be left lingering and eventually fading out in the courts of social media." We only have 3 more to go. Akinwale from Camp says, "I find it hard to understand why people do ritual when they won't be titled the world's richest. This is not to justify ritualism. It just does not make sense to me to go to that length and still end up being the richest in your local environment. Let us just go back to building morals. I think that will sort all these. Morality above religious practices. Iwa Omoluabi." We have Daniel from Lafenwa, who is a first-time commenter. Thank you, Daniel. He says, "The parents are to blame because they are the ones that are supposed to train their children. We cannot keep blaming the government for everything. Is it the government that will be training the children? Sincerely, I think those boys should be sentenced to death by execution to serve as a deterrent." Boyga has spoken about that. If force is not used on some Nigerians, they cannot mature. Also, Let's not blame the victim, please. The ears that refuse to heed to the advice of the elders would be cut off with the head. Well, I'm glad you sort of came back. This next comment is from Surakat, who says, I think your guest wants to remember Saka Saula. When we road safety, stop chasing vehicles. Okay. Oh, I beg your pardon. That's from another day. Oh, okay.
All right.
Apologies. We have one last one. Sorry. This one says, good morning, Panorama. It's all encompassing. We are all guilty of it. Parents, government, religious organizations, and society at large. A crave for materialism is worrisome. We all must start doing the needful, or else. That was sent in from Olajide Olawale Opeyemi from Bodi Oludi.
All right.
Thank
so we had quite a number of comments, but let's just take your own thoughts on this before we get to the news.
Yes,
what news we have left?
I want to comment on this refuse thing. It's because it's not that people are blaming government, but when you look at the local government, you look at the state and the federal. This refuse thing, they ought to have narrowed it down to the local governments because they are nearest to the people. Not only that, if you have a compact system of collection and even using them to manufacture fertilizers, that's what other countries do. Before the morning light, everything in the packaging is so well, it's very intact, and people do it, you know where to dump it and all that. Then if somebody packs it, then they use it for fertilizer. But here, the packing system, the disposition at the disposal and what have you, is not good enough. And I think that is where government comes in. Let's have a system whereby these things are, in fact, individual houses on the streets of most European countries. You see them, and people know the implications of even dumping, refuse on the streets. You don't do it because under 1 minute there's a CCTV that catches you, somebody, and you are fined, heavily for it.
I mean, there's even proof that when you monitor, when you find a way to deter people from doing certain action, they will be cautious.
They are cautious.
They'll be cautious. I mean, as I said, right beside us here, for about a week or more, there was somebody monitoring that spot to be sure that no one was dumping refuse, and no one dumped refuse. But then, obviously, the person went away because they've gone back to dumping refuse there.
On the streets.
I also want to talk about when. I think it was when Fashola was governor in Lagos.
Yes.
As visitors in Lagos, you can even, as far back as I grew up in Osun State, and I know that you can't go to Lagos and throw out a sachet of water or a bottle out of your car.
But that was,
you are going to be punished.
Exactly, that was during the military era. That started during the military. But even during Fashola, I know Fashola now picked that up. But it's because we don't have laws, and we don't have that gadget, the technology to catch people. On the streets of London, I once witnessed it. Two Koras, from maybe Asia, they were going with the wife and the man, and the dog they were holding, poo-pooed. They immediately stood there and packed it and threw it where it should be thrown. In Nigeria here or elsewhere, you just go with your dog because they know there is a CCTV watching you. The next police station, they will catch you. They will just drive down, catch you because the law is there. We don't even have law against dumping of refuse. I think that's where government comes in.
I mean, that's not to excuse people whose bad behavior means that they indiscriminately dump refuse everywhere. But humans have a penchant for misbehavior, and so the only thing that stops them
is the law.
Is the law. And so we need to create a better
because
system.
really this amount that government has asked people to pay, how much? My house, for instance, is 4 flats. As up till around September or thereabouts, we pay 2,000 per month.
Ours is even 1,000 at Olomore.
How regularly do they come?
No, they come. They come in 3 days. They come in 3 days to pick it.
It was recently increased to 3,000, but for 4 flats, when we are paying 2,000, it means we pay 500 naira per flat. So this per month, that is. So how much is it? When people complain and say they ask us to pay and all of that, how much are you being asked to pay? So I don't know if we have touched on.
We have touched on it before, and I recall somebody saying in response to that it doesn't matter how much government asks them to pay, that they would rather burn their refuse or find another way to dump it than pay any amount.
No, it's because the law is just not there. Look, in the US, the government, you pay the packet every day. You just have to pay. If you don't, I mean, the law is there. That's why in any society, that's why you have laws. Ordinarily, people want to break laws. I mean, don't drink while you drive and all that. But they just put this the gadgets in your mouth. Once you are caught, you drunken driving. Yes, all those things. We don't do it here. Some people will move from party to their car. They are drunk. Because they are children of big men and what have you. We don't once you don't respect laws, or once laws respect certain category of people, this is what you have in Nigeria. I know it can be enforced.
What I don't understand, before we go on a commercial break, is how we've even, in Abeokuta, we've come to accept that certain spots are dumping sites. There's a particular junction leading to my house. That spot,
I think Bukun is even worse, because there is barely any junction. Barely. And there are many junctions.
And as you said, it doesn't matter if they clear the refuse that afternoon. That evening, somebody will still come with their bag of trash.
There's barely any junction. Of course, and because I know these axes. Yeah. There's barely any junction along Bukun.
Yeah, junction leading to Sud FM.
There's barely any where you don't have it. But let's proceed on that commercial break now. Another day, maybe we'll try to get in touch with the Special Advisor on Environment again, Mr. Olawore. So let's have him and let's see.
And the State Assembly too, should be involved in this matter. Let's have laws that must be respected, whether you like it or not.
And let me add that it is not frequently coming to dispose the waste that will solve the problem, because clearly, if you dispose it today, people will drop. You have to find a way to deter people from dumping refuse.
Exactly.
All right, we'll be back, and then we'll get to the newspapers after this time. Stay with us.
Don't dare touch that dial. It's Splash, your integrity station.
ẹni tó ṣe fọkàn tán ló yẹ agbẹ́kẹ̀lé òun gan ló yẹ abádòwò pọ̀ tó bá jẹ́ ti iná tó ń lo agbára oòrùn ẹ má wá jìnnà mọ́ power from the other side ń bẹ́ ń kalẹ̀ láti mú ojúlówó jáde o solar àti inverter installation tí yóò mú kí iná dúró wá ń bí kọ̀ǹkéré fún àwọn ilé iṣẹ́ ní owó tí ò ṣẹ́ nílé egun ẹ̀. Power from the other side ń ta solar gadgets, batteries, panels, inverters, charge controller, solar iron, solar bulbs, mounting accessories, solar street light, solar floodlights àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ ní iye tí wọ́n ń tà gan-an ní ìlú Èkó. Àyè ń bẹ́ńlẹ̀ láti kó àwọn tí wọ́n fẹ́ mọ̀ nípa gbígbé solar sílé tàbí sí ọ́fíìsì ní owó kékeré tí yóò máa fún àwọn gan-an lóúnjẹ títí dọjọ́ alẹ́ wọn. Power from the other side ń bẹ ní Anike House lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ Zenith Bank tí ń bẹ ní ìsàlẹ̀ gbẹ̀yìn lábẹ́òkúta 090-3276-9065 tàbí 081-2266-0330. Power from the other side ilé iṣẹ́ tí ń ta solar tó ṣe é fọkàn tán. ABR ọ̀rẹ́ àgbẹ̀ àbísúyọ lóko bọ̀pá dé. Wọ́n ní ẹ ò gbọ́dọ̀ kárí ẹ̀ lórí ìgbà ọ̀tun. Pàápàá àǹfààní ọdún tuntun tó gbọ́mọ pọ̀n dáadáa. Ilẹ̀ oko mo lọ́gẹ̀dẹ̀ orílẹ̀ ìlúgùn ọlọ́run dá 25,000 ní plọ̀tì báyìí. Ẹ ra plọ̀tì mẹ́ta kẹ́ ẹ gba ìdajì sí i. Ó sì jẹ́ éèkà lẹ́ra ẹ gba plọ̀tì kan sí i. Ilẹ̀ àgbẹ̀ kọ́bápá alábàtà ọ̀pẹ́jì 30,000 per plot. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bára plọ̀tì mẹ́ta ìdajì lẹ́gbà sí i. Ó sì jẹ́ éèkà lẹ́ra ẹ ó gbòdìdì kan sí i. Àwọn onírà ti wà nílẹ̀ láti ra èrè oko yín. 39 NTA Road Ọ̀gbẹ̀ Abẹ́òkúta 08033706236 08033706236. ABR ọ̀rẹ́ àgbẹ̀ àbísúyọ lóko bọ̀kùà ìgbọ̀tún fáwọn àgbẹ̀. Ọjọ́ kẹwàá oṣù kejì ọdún tá a wà yìí làǹfààní yóò pẹ́.
Splash FM 106.7.
Panorama.
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 Panorama. Panorama.
Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
Welcome back to Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM. On Facebook, Bankole Ibrahim Sheung will take your message. We'll get to your message very quickly, but let me run through the headlines on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Presidency, APC in dilemma over zoning, metro race open. Fayose Oniklash, Alex sellout, rigging over Ekiti PDP primary. Federal government must justify fresh 3 trillion naira vote. Others for fuel subsidy. 104,403 northerners, 23,088 southerners apply for police recruitment. NAF has 38 new aircraft to tackle insecurity. That's according to the Air Force chief. 24 gunned down as killings rise in Kaduna, Niger. Let's see. Okay, I think I'll just stop there.
Well, there's a story of an ex-beauty pageant who has unfortunately died from suicide. Yeah. And that's just, to remind us that there's life, there's hope. It's a trite saying, it's cliche, but it's true. So please, I understand life is hard, but please persevere, and suicide is not the answer. All right, moving over now to, let's go with Premium Times newspaper, and then we can head over to maybe the Nigerian Tribune or the Nation newspaper. Okay, I believe I am just about to access Tribune newspaper, although it's taking a little longer than... okay, I have it now. It says here, Tinubu woos APC UK leaders, NDA team, others in London ahead of 2023 elections. There's an exclusive on how bandits abduct woman, vow to kidnap more from a certain community. Frustration, pain greet Lagos government's new vehicle roadworthiness policy. Lawmaker says ambition on course, despite Governor Emmanuel presenting preferred successor. On Fuoye, on ending controversies over sacked lecturers' reinstatement. Murdered Ogun monarch, not self-proclaimed king, according to a document. BC Ogundikpe, why I acted the way I did during Unilag crisis. Our conquerors have now been conquered. Burkina Faso stunned Tunisia 1-0 to book semi-final berth. Soludo says we need new liberation movement in Nigeria. And that's about it from Premium Times newspaper.
I think we should just run through some stories very quickly. This one about fuel subsidy. The Senate has said the federal government will have to justify the fresh demand for 3 trillion naira for the extension of the subsidy on petrol before it is approved by the National Assembly. The chairman of the Senate's Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Ajibola Bashiru, made this known against the backdrop of the controversy surrounding the actual volume of petrol which Nigeria consumed daily. Already, the House of Representatives last week resolved to investigate the correct daily consumption volume and the actual state of the nation's 4 refineries. Well, Eddie, this... subsidy issue.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't matter the side of the divide that one stands. You just know that there is more to it. There's more the government is not telling us. And I still saw a report this morning of the amount of billions that was spent on refineries last year. So all of this, the government has said, okay, we'll leave it for another 18 months, but 3 trillion naira, it's a lot of money.
Well, it's a lot of money. And like you rightly pointed out, the NMPC wasted 85.33 billion naira on non-functioning refineries. And the question you ask is, why spend money on something that is non-functioning? It's corruption. Because you begin to wonder, what did they do with that money? Yeah. But that's the major problem we have. I mean, of all OPEC countries, globally, even non-OPEC countries, Nigeria is about the only country that imports 100% of its fuel, of its refined product, from outside, and we are losing a lot because if you don't refine here, we have lost, the byproducts, of crude. You are talking of brake oil, you are talking of motor oil, you are talking of petrochemicals, you are talking of bitumen. And the question, my worry is, why is it now that the National Assembly that has the oversight function, because they have 2 committees, one in the reps, one in the Senate. Why is it now that they are just talking about looking into the refineries, why the refineries are not working, and looking into the issue of looking into the issue of subsidy? Why is it now that they are now particular about it? Because in the first instance, you say we are using 65 metric tons of fuel on daily basis. And you begin to wonder, when they locked the borders, we found out that in fact less than 30, percent, that 30% of oil, is being used by Nigerians, because the diesel, most companies run on diesels. Those big trucks, they rely on diesel. So where is it coming on? It's because it's corruption. And two, we have refused to even watch our gates. Why now? That's the question. But never too late. But I bet you, neither the House of Reps nor the Senate will have a hang on it. Because how do you get it? How do you have a hang on it? Unless you do forensic auditing, and if you do it now, it doesn't matter. We are in it already, and unfortunately, unless you want to embark on an emergency measures, you just have to fetch out that money. But again, are we spending that much? Because the landing cost is 282 naira per liter. So where are they getting the 33 trillion they are asking for?
But then this issue of how much petrol we consume.
Yes.
The story is that many, the fuel is smuggled across
that's
the border.
That's what I'm saying.
They get
we
to
don't
sell it
for Benin Republic, and all those places.
Subsidized. So how do we ensure that we are not subsidizing for other countries?
No, in fact, we continue to subsidize for other countries because some people are benefiting from it. Look at the petrol stations hovering around the border side. What some governments will have even brought those things down. If they don't bring them down, they pay them off and say, okay, we don't want petrol. Look, you recall at that point in time, I think about 20 kilometers, and it worked because from the 65 it came back to 30 million liters. So that's that. What do you do? There is nothing we can do except that one, we must make sure our refineries functioning, whichever way you want to look at it, and there are ways to do it. You can align with other, this joint venture business, with these multinational IOs, international oil companies. You can do it. You can make our crude, available to them. So some people, let them bring it back to us in form of dollars. But the moment we continue, to import this oil, there will be issue of a subsidy, and it does not pay this country. We cannot afford to continue to pay, especially 33 trillion naira. Oh, the 3 trillion naira is incredible. Where does the money come from? Unless you tax, even the budget, the government is not, is not able to implement that budget unless they borrow money. Can we borrow money, to be paying subsidy? It doesn't make any sense. Can we borrow money to be paying staff salaries? Can we borrow money to maintain the National Assembly members? So something drastic has to take place. I like it. It's nice that they are now interrogating, those two issues. How much are we spending on for subsidy? Then two, the refinery. How are we maintaining it? Turnaround maintenance alone within 10 weeks, $85.3 billion within 10 weeks, January 2021 to October, and nobody is asking questions. Even NNPC, you continue to pay the staff there without manufacturing not a single liter of oil. I think it's incredible. We need something drastic. All these ones, in the final analysis, the 3 trillion naira will be paid. I mean, go and write it down, because between the National Assembly and the executive, there's that concord, that agreement, that rapport, that rapprochement between them. And before you say, in the interest of the nation, let us pay them, because the labor is saying, if you remove the subsidy, we'll go on strike and all that, and they've been advised not to do it. And that's the reason why they postponed it, till the next administration. But for now, why 3 trillion naira? How does it get to that level? What is the landing cost that we have to multiply it and get to 3 trillion naira?
All right, before I head over to the next story, there's a how-to here from the CBN on how to report your bank when you are displeased. It says if you have a complaint against your bank, you must first report the complaint at the branch where the issue originated, and then allow 2 weeks for the issues to be resolved. You can then escalate the complaint to the Director, Consumer Protection Department of the CBN after lodging a complaint when the bank fails to acknowledge within 3 days or issue a tracking number, or fails to resolve the complaint within the timelines as stipulated by the Consumer Protection Regulation. It says you can only direct your complaints to CPD upon the failure of your bank or financial institution to resolve your complaint within the timeline stipulated by by the Consumer Protection Regulation. And you can contact the CPD through the Consumer Protection Department, Gariki Abuja, writing a letter. So that's the how-to, because I know I've heard a lot of people complain about, service in their banks. But the issue I'd like us to talk about now is SANU giving federal government February deadline to settle minimum wage and IPPIS. Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities has issued a February warning to the federal government to fully implement the minimum wage to its members or face industrial action. And I just find it interesting that we're still talking about minimum wage when this minimum wage itself was signed, I think, about 2 years ago. And it was signed at a time when inflation was about half of what it is now. There are commodities that have doubled, even tripled. And the minimum wage itself was, at the time it was signed, was barely sufficient. People just said, oh, okay, let's just compromise. Let's just settle with this for now. But now, since standard of living gone up, I was still having a conversation with someone this morning about meter. The person had finally been allocated prepaid meter. And then the person said that they paid about over 50,000 naira, which itself is almost double of the minimum wage. So people living on minimum wage themselves, are we to assume they don't use electricity? Are we to assume they don't eat for the month? And the federal government is still dragging its foot over paying this minimum wage in itself. I mean, what hope is there? What livable consensus can we reach regarding this minimum wage?
Well, it's not only the federal government. Even the Kogi governor who wants to rule this country is paying in faced minimum wage. Not only that, he's even owing them. In fact, they are threatening to go on strike. It's not only that state that is refusing to pay. In fact, Samfara, so many states are not paying. You see, the question is, I don't want to hold brief for the federal government and the state governments. The government is broke. There is no doubt about it, no two ways about it. The government is broke. That's the reason why they came about with this sugar tax. Charging carbonated, for 10 naira and all that. They call it sugar tax. They don't know how to, come out of that box. I'm telling you, they are in a bind.
We're still spending lots of money on refineries.
Exactly, and even the National Assembly members, the lifestyle of our members, the salaries have not changed and all that. But the fact remains that they're broke. If you look at how to implement the 2022 budget, they are broke. But that's not the excuse. Even if you are broke, even if you have problems, I think the issue of opacity and transparency, the government is opaque in the way they run most of the activities. All you need to do, if truly you have facts, why not call this SANU? It's not only SANU, even the one in the polytechnics, they've been threatening. Most of them have been threatening. How many? Most of them have been threatening over this minimum wage. Not to talk of state government. In fact, the NSC president came out some few days ago to say, okay, labor must be ready, to go on strike. So the problem has been management of our resources, and they don't put priority. They don't give priority to workers because I'm sure if it's the National Assembly members, you don't know how they've never complained once about their salary. No, not once. I've never known.
Because I want to ask, is welfare of workers negotiable? Because we often are. The body language and the government's actions often make it seem as though it's something that is a maybe that they could do or not do without. Whereas the workers within the government are paid promptly.
Yes, because that's the way they take. It's the mindset of a governor. There are some governors that are even this the issue of payment of gratuities and what have you. Some governors are very good at it because they believe that a worker deserves his wages and all that. But some states, they don't believe. Rather, they have this notion that they don't want to leave office without doing anything concrete that people will see. And what do they normally do? Go and see what the Fireship bridge built in Ekiti. That bridge, people need to go and take a look at it. Is it necessary? Bigger, we say something.
I don't think it is.
Right.
Even the one Oyetola has just finished in Osun State. So many people have asked as to if it was necessary.
Exactly. It's missed priority. They don't give priority, especially workers, because without workers, even the tax you collect from them, you take it from source. Not only that, once the workers are not happy, you cannot, your source of the economy will not be healthy. And that's part of the problem the federal government and some state government has, some state governments have. But maybe if the people go on, because you see, all this strike thing we are talking about, I think it's high time the leadership of any group, if they go, because look at this SANU thing, this SANU, SASU and all. For a long time we've been going on strike, and people, government talking to them and all that. For how long shall we do? Why not down to totally? If it's not, so that we now sit on the table and after all, what Professor Oleshenka once suggested, that we should even close all those universities for 2 years. Is it not happening now? If ASU had not gone back, will it not have been over 1 year?
Ironically, if the minimum wage, because the minimum wage at the time it was signed was not enough, and standard of living has gone up, so perhaps by the time we adjust the new minimum wage or adjust the minimum wage that was signed, standard of living will have gone up even more. Or by the time the government starts paying this, fully implementing this minimum wage, conversations will have already begun again on creating another new minimum wage.
To get the attitude of our governments, look at even the COVID-19, see what other countries do. I mean, Europe, Japan and all that. Although you say we don't compare, well, who do we compare ourselves to or compare ourselves with? I mean,
let's see if we can take one.
Yes, so it's a problem. That shows you the attitude, the way they look at the issue of welfare, and security.
On Facebook, Bankole Ibrahim Sheon said, "Good morning, sirs, and Ma in the studio. My name is Bankole Ibrahim Sheon. First and foremost, sir, you're doing a great job. I'd like to share my stance on youth involvement in social vices. It should be noted that several NGOs and CBOs are doing their best through the orientation intervention programs. The government and multinational companies' support towards these organizations is not readily accessible. Since 2018, till date, our organization was approved by the ministry to visit public secondary school in Abeokuta local government to sensitize public secondary school students to shun social vices such as examination malpractices, cultism, drug substance abuse, teenage pregnancy and prostitution, and cybercrime. But unfortunately, we are finding it difficult to scale up movement tagged youth with purpose. NGOs and CBOs that are involved in youth advocacy should be well funded." Thank you for your comments. Ifan Iwuchukwu said, "When we are all pressed in public and there are no public toilets with tap water, open defecation becomes inevitable. When the Ministry of Environment gets confused, the people can't dump the waste in their bedrooms." Adetayo Ademola Adeniran said, "Good morning, guys. Once again, Ogao, issues plenty this morning. Honestly, I'm not happy. This morning my heart is heavy, but I believe God will definitely deliver our land one day." Enjoy your week, guys. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Let's take one call from one lucky caller, 0817-444-1067. We have that lucky caller. Good morning. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Nicholas.
Nicholas. Good to have you. Go
on. I'm lucky to do the lucky caller. I know, in this town when there was Bomo, there was Adale. So who is truly surprised when the governor went to meet the Adale, and some people insist that some people will be buried with scars. So what do you think the youth are watching? Who are they looking up to? Secondly, please, when people like you, Peter Okodwa, Mr. Shominyon, spoke to us years ago, we don't cross-check. But these days, some of your friends in the media don't share your views. People like you pondered like Nathaniel, you spoke the truth like Gamaliel, and you sneak from your rooms very early like Nicodemus. These days, we have had bad news and fake news on some of the media. It's like the post-millennial media. But thank God for Splash FM and the integrity. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. We have to wrap up. We apologize, Eddie. I know.
Because, of course, I contributed to it.
Yes, but thank you. Thank you very much
Thanks for having me.
Your time, Eddie. I know. I met Mommy yesterday again. Mommy is really beautiful.
Thanks.
We pray that, the age God will continue to sustain you. Thank you very much. We'll see you again tomorrow, God's willing. Tomorrow we'll be talking about consumer protection. And it's an important conversation as well, especially seeing how many manufacturers, many businesses are doing anyhow, so to say. Banks even. My name is Boyega Olaniyi. Have a great week.
Thank you for joining us. My name is Lola Meduteni. Good morning.
And don't forget that henceforth we'll be having Panorama on Twitter Space. So if that is your forte, you can, join us every morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Panorama.